filming this video on September 3rd. I normally film my reading wrap-ups before the reading month is over, but not my August reading wrap-up because I have no idea where August went. Literally. I know I say that every single time. I say that every single month, but you guys, I truly do not know what happened to August. How is it already September? Which I'm not complaining because as you guys can see, I already have some of my Halloween decor out because I am that girl. I don't care. I love the fall. I love Halloween. So I'm going to enjoy it for 2 months, not 1 month. I also feel like I didn't really read that much in August, but I still wanted to film this video to share the books that I did read because even though I didn't read as much as I wanted to, I did read some really good books and we're going to talk about those books today. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about is Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. This one is a childhood friends to lovers second chance romance and it takes place in the summer, obviously by the title. So I'm really glad that I was able to read this book in August before the fall season started because it definitely is a book filled with all the good summer vibes. It follows two main characters, Sam and Wyatt. It's basically Sam and Wyatt were best friends turned lovers when they were younger, and something happens that causes them to break up and end their relationship. Years later, I think it's like 10 years later, Sam is back at her family's beach house with her fiance, and Wyatt happens to be there because his family owns the house next door to Sam, and all of their old feelings start to resurface. The book is told in alternating timelines, so from the past to the present. I'm normally not a huge fan of friends to lovers or second chance romances. I normally find that with second chance romances, the reason that the two main characters broke up is often a really stupid reason, or cheating is involved, and I freaking hate the cheating trope so much. So I'm really glad, spoiler, that the reason that these two broke up wasn't because one of them cheated. For that reason, I think this is like my all-time favorite childhood friends to lovers second chance romance book. I loved Wyatt. I loved the scenery, loved the summer vibe. Sam, the female main character, did annoy me at times. I really didn't like how she looked down at Wyatt in certain parts of the book, but I know that was just her way of trying to cover up her feelings. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. If Sam wasn't so annoying, I probably would have given this book a 4-star rating. I really enjoyed the writing. It was very simple, very quick. It's a pretty short book. I think it's only like 280 something pages. So it's a very quick read, which I love. This is a perfect book to take with you to the beach or even on an airplane if you have a short flight, to the pool. It's just a really cute little summer read. I would recommend this book. Like I said, it's probably one of my all-time favorites friends to lovers books. I was just really impressed with the author's writing, and I also think the cover is really pretty. If you hear like stomping, it's my upstairs neighbor. I'm so sorry. I think they're moving. They've been up since 4 a.m. doing God knows what. It's kind of annoying, but what can you do? And then the next book that I read was For Her Consideration by Amy Spalding. This is a LGBTQ plus book. It takes place in Hollywood. It follows a main character, Nina, who after being broken up with kind of loses her self-confidence in everything, in her looks, in her career, in her dating life. She separates herself from her friends, from her family, and kind of just retreats into a shell. But through her job, which is a strange job, I wonder if this job actually exists in Hollywood because it's also very interesting. So she basically responds to emails on behalf of celebrities, but she pretends to be that celebrity. Let's say, for example, she's pretending to be, who's a celebrity? Ariana Grande. She's writing to another like producer or an agent. She writes on behalf of Ariana Grande, but she pretends to be Ariana Grande. Does that make sense? It's a very interesting job. Through that job, she meets a up-and-coming actress named Ari. That's funny that I chose Ariana Grande. Ari reaches out to Nina's boss and basically asks her to set up a meeting for the three of them to discuss the emails that Nina is sending on Ari's behalf. Once that meeting happens, Ari and Nina start to meet alone and the sparks fly. They start dating. You guys get the gist. I did not enjoy this book whatsoever. I mean, there were certain parts where the book was very tolerable and I found myself kind of laughing in certain parts. But for the majority of the book, I could not stand Nina at all. I also didn't understand how Nina's friends did not reach out to her once after after the breakup to see why she was avoiding them, and all of a sudden they all reappear in Nina's life and they pick up right where they left off. I don't know, it's just very strange to me. Like, if you have a friend group for a number of years and all of a sudden you stop being around them, you stop answering their texts, answering their calls, wouldn't you think that someone, at least one person from that friend group, would reach out to you and ask like, what the hell is going on? Why are you behaving this way? But none of her friends ever did that. And then there was a conflict halfway through the book between Ari and Nina that was so unnecessary, and honestly I feel like Ari was in the wrong with the conflict, and Ari was a super controlling character. And then Ari kind of disappeared from the book for a number of chapters. Like, we didn't see Ari's character come back for a while, it felt like, and I don't know, I just didn't really like that. Maybe I would have enjoyed it a lot more if Nina was a likable character, but like I said, there were certain parts where she really annoyed me and I didn't really like her. She never grew on me. So for that reason, I ended up giving this book I think I ended up giving this book a 2 out of 5 stars. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I gave it 2 out of 5. And I also didn't really care for like the Hollywood references. I don't really care about celebrities. So it didn't do it for me, unfortunately. So 2 out of 5 stars. And then I read A Spinster's Guide to Danger and Dukes by Amanda Collins. I enjoyed this book immensely, you guys. I thought it was such a cute little historical romance. It is a fake dating romance, and I love fake dating. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of the fake dating trope. If it's done right, it is just a masterpiece, and the author did the fake dating trope in this book so well. It also wasn't just a romance book. There was a murder mystery element to it, and the murder mystery element was front and center right next to the romance element. So I ate this book up. Like, I loved it so much. I don't read many historical romances, but this author really convinced me that I have to read more historical romances. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend. It follows Poppy, and she basically agrees to fake date a duke in order to have his help in proving her sister's innocence. Her sister is being accused of killing her husband. So throughout the book, you basically see Poppy and the Duke work together to solve her brother-in-law's murder and to prove that her sister is in fact innocent. And then you also have obviously the romance element and the fake dating element of the 2 main characters. And the 2 main characters were just so likable. Like, I love the Duke. I love Poppy. She was so sassy, and I love that she was sassy, especially because this book takes place in the past. It takes place in 1867, so of course females in that time period were not expected to be sassy. They were expected to listen to the men, not really speak up, and Poppy was the complete opposite of all that. She spoke her mind, she didn't back down, and I loved her character so much. I don't see many people talk about it, but I definitely think it deserves more hype because it was so good. And it's actually part of a series, so I'm actually going to check out the other books in the series to see if they're just as good as that one. And then this next book is making its round around BookTube and BookTok, and it is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first book in the Naturals series. I love this book so much. If you are a fan of Criminal Minds, then you have to read this book. Criminal Minds is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I enjoy this book immensely. It's basically Criminal Minds but for teenagers. It follows a main character named Cassie. She is approached by the FBI for her natural gift of profiling. So she joins this group of teenagers that were all recruited by the FBI to work on cold cases, but then there's a serial killer on the loose who is targeting one of the naturals in the group, and they all have to work together to find the serial killer before one of them or all of them are harmed. And I just loved it immensely. The writing was super addicting. It was super fast paced. The book chapters were short, which I love. I didn't feel like the book was dragging on, and each chapter ended on a cliffhanger, making you want to continue reading. I think this is a perfect book to read in the fall. I'm definitely going to check out the other books in the series. If you enjoyed The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, then I feel like you'll really enjoy this book. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Again, highly recommend. I read some really good books on Kindle Unlimited this month. I did read maybe 1 or 2 that were kind of like a miss for me. I think it was just one book that I didn't really really like, but the rest of the books that I read were so good. And I read Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and this is the first book in the Never After series, and it's basically a Peter Pan retelling, but like a dark version. This book is definitely dark romance. I don't know what it is about dark romances lately, but I'm so into them. I don't approve of how toxic these relationships in these dark romances books are, but the drama is just so entertaining. I read My Dark Romeo last month, absolutely loved that book. Like I said, I read Hooked this month and it was so entertaining. I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 stars, maybe a 3.5. It basically follows two main characters, Wendy and James. Wendy is like this innocent girl. She comes from a wealthy family. She doesn't like telling people who her father is because then they start treating her differently. James is basically this very dangerous criminal. He's like second in command of this very dangerous organization. I don't really know what they do, but he's part of that dangerous criminal organization, and he hates Wendy's father, so he starts pursuing Wendy in an attempt to get back at her father. And like I said, I don't approve of how toxic this book is, but it was super entertaining. I ended up really enjoying James' character. He definitely had a lot of growth by the end of the book. I enjoyed Wendy's character as well, but the girl was really naive, but that was the whole point. Again, it is a dark retelling of Peter Pan. I highly recommend if you're into dark romances. If you're not into dark romances, then stay away from this book because you're not going to enjoy it. And there's like a ton of books in this series. I think there's like 4 or 5 books. I don't know if I'm going to continue the series. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, so I might, but we'll see. I think each book in the series is a retelling of some sort of fairy tale, which I think is interesting. We'll see if I'll continue the series. This one was a good standalone for me, I feel like. Then I read a Christmas book. I know, I read a Christmas book in August, but the premise of this book sounded so cute, so I decided to give it a chance. And I was also craving a Christmas book. I don't know why, but I was. So I read A Cross-Country Christmas by Courtney Wash. This book has so much potential, but it let me down so much. It follows a main character who agrees to go on a road trip with her brother's best friend for Christmas because it's the only way that she can go home. She's afraid of flying and she waited too long to book train tickets, so basically her brother's best friend is her only option to get home for the holidays. And the only problem is that she hates her brother's best friend. You learn that the main character was in love with her brother's best friend, but he did something that broke her heart. And throughout the book, you're trying to figure out what exactly he did. She treats her brother's best friend like complete shit. I did not like her character at all. She had no redeeming qualities for me. I just didn't really feel the chemistry between both characters, so I didn't really enjoy it. I actually ended up skimming a lot in this book, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. So not my favorites, and I know it's part of a series, but I don't think I'm going to continue the series. I just did not enjoy the main character at all. And then I ended the reading month by finding my new favorite thriller author. I read 2 books by Noelle Eel. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name, but that's how I'm gonna pronounce it today. I read X for Andrea and Run Unread. I guess they're both kind of horror thriller books, and I loved both so much. One of them is actually a 5-star read for me, and that was X for Andrea. So X for Andrea follows 3 main characters, and they're all dead. So all 3 female characters were murdered by the same serial killer. At the beginning of the book, you basically get to see how they were murdered by the serial killer and how they have come to terms with their death. And then halfway through the book, you see them find each other and work together to bring justice to the serial killer's crimes. It's very sad. I did not expect it to be sad. Like, I obviously knew what the premise was going into the book, but it really didn't hit me that it was going to be a sad book until I started reading it, and I was like, wow, this is actually so sad. It had me at the edge of my seat the entire time. I did not want to put this book down at all. There were some parts that were a little graphic and a little gory, so I would definitely look up trigger warnings beforehand, but but if you're looking for a really good thriller that feels like you're watching a movie and again is going to have you at the edge of your seat with the suspense, definitely read Ask for Andrea. It definitely is a 5-star read for me. I highly recommend it. It's such a perfect thriller. It's also very short. Both of the books that I've read from this author were short, straight to the point, jumps right in from the very beginning and doesn't drag, which I love. And each chapter just made you want to keep on reading to find out what was going to happen next. Ask for Andrea specifically doesn't have like a big twist that you have to guess what the twist is as you're reading. It's mainly that you get to follow these 3 characters and see their journey from being murdered to seeing the journey of being okay with the fact that there might never be justice for their murder, and seeing how the serial killer progresses and how the serial killer lives and all of that stuff. So if you're into like serial killers and you're into murder mysteries, things like that, then definitely check out Ask for Andrea. And it's also a very realistic book because unfortunately things like this happen all the time. The other book that I read from her was Run Unread. This is another thriller by her that feels like you're watching a movie as you're reading the book. It follows 2 female main characters who are on their way to a bonfire, and they are basically driven off the road by a truck. In that truck there's 2 males, and they don't really know why these 2 people are attacking them, and they're trying to fight for their life. They're trying to stay alive, and then they realize that what's happening to them is not a coincidence. Like, these 2 strangers didn't just happen to drive by these 2 girls and decide to attack them. There's more to the story. And again, another thriller that had me at the edge of my seat. It also takes place in 2006, so keep that in mind. The girls make some choices that are questionable, but you have to keep reminding yourself that it's 2006, it's not 2023. So of course the choices they make are going to be different from the choices that we would make nowadays, but I still highly recommend this book. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I haven't read a thriller that actually had me at the edge of my seat in such a long time, so I feel so lucky that I was able to find 2 thrillers and find a new author that I'm obsessed with. I'm actually currently reading another book from her, but that will be featured in my September reading wrap-up. I'll give you a little preview. I'm currently reading The Thicket from her. Absolutely loving it as well. You can actually find all of her books on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited, definitely look up this author and check out her books because I'm obsessed. Like, I had no idea if the 2 girls in this book were going to make it or if they were going to end up being murdered. I'm not going to tell you what happens. Obviously, just read the book because it takes you for a ride. I promise you that. But yeah, so those are all the books that I read in the month of August. Let me know in the comments below if you have any 5-star reads from the month of August. Let me know what you ended up reading, what you ended up loving, what you ended up hating. I would love to know, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.